Hello, knockouts. Tonya Tko here. Let me take this earbud out one ear so I can hear. All right. So I want to, you know what? I haven't made a video in, I'd say, a week or two because I'm experiencing so many things behind the scenes and I just haven't really been in a space to really make videos. And one of the things that's really been troubling me, it's like every single day there are just more and more stories. Hi, Tawana. Hi, Tyrese. There are just more and more stories of all of this craziness going on in the media. White people accosting Latinos, calling people the N-word, this, that, and the other, kicking people out of pools, stopping people while they're driving, asking for their papers. And you know what? It's like there's a part of me, and it's like I have to, even as I'm doing this broadcast, I have to stop myself from breaking down into tears. Like last night, I was crying. Usually, when I get my period, I'm very emotional. But my period is gone now. So it's like over the past week, I've been feeling all of these emotions and just feeling really emotional about the state of affairs in America. And so my cycle has ended and I'm still feeling all of these emotions about what's happening. And I figured if I'm feeling this, then there must be other people who are feeling this as well. This, what I'm calling Trump trauma. Just waking up to the news cycle every day with just more and more ridiculousness that exists in the media, on the news, the foolishness of this obviously incompetent person. I'm sorry, I'm having internet issues at the moment as well. But this obviously incompetent person who is heading this country and the places into which we are being headed as a nation and the effect, the trickle-down effect that it's having on people. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, it's like, come on, are we really this dumb? Do we really think that that people who are attempting to cross in through the southern border, that this is about immigration and that this is about, when it's also been reported that birth tourism of Russian people into the United States to have American babies is at an all-time high. But we're not seeing the news cycle talking about stopping, people who are considered white immigrants from coming in. And Monique is saying, this is why you don't listen it at all. Why do this type of harm to yourself? Okay. Well, that's an interesting question. Is it better to put your head in the sand and ignore it, or to really open your eyes and look at where it is that we're going? There's this show on Netflix. I don't know how many of you have seen it, and the show is called Handmaid's Tale. And so basically, The Handmaid's Tale is a dystopic future where fertile women are being used by the elite, are being raped by the elite, kept in their houses as human uteruses, and raped by the elite in order for the elite to be able to give birth. And it's like slowly, like if you look at the progression of how things happened in that particular show, slowly, little rights were taken away, this was happening, and people they turned a blind eye to it. They didn't want to pay attention to it. They kept their head in the sand. And so I would implore people like Monique, who are like, why listen to this stuff? Don't watch the news. Don't pay attention. I would implore people like that to wonder, what is the upside of that? How do we continue walking around as if everything is normal, while little by little rights are being rescinded, while little by little, do you understand what I'm saying? Oh, brother. I'm sorry, I'm trying to, part of my broadcast is stuck at the moment, but anyway. So I figured if I'm feeling this, that there are other people out there who are feeling it as well. And then so the major question is, which is the better route to take? To pretend as if it's not happening and put your head in the sand, or really open up your eyes and look and see what's going on. It's like, I personally believe part of the reason that, and it's like you can't avoid it. You cannot be on social media. Like, I haven't turned on the TV to watch the news in years, years. However, in the news cycles and the stories that are going viral, even on a place like here on Facebook, hey David, you can't stay away from what is happening. And Tyrese says, this is why I had to give the news a break for a while. Too much crazy things are happening. I was being desensitized and wasn't reacting like I normally would to those bad things. And you know what? And that's another good point. That's another good point. There's so, hi Noel. Noel is in Canada, so I don't know what the political climate is like up in Canada, and I would love your feedback on that. But here in the United States, we are in a state of alarm, emergency, and just constant trauma every single day from this incompetent person in the White House who is making century-long, making decisions that are going to affect this country and this world for centuries. And it's going to take centuries to, it's going, the effect of climate change, the effect of the policies of the things that have affected climate change, and the different ordinances that are being put in place, like this whole thing with the border and all of this other stuff. It's startling. And as a person in America who is a person of color, and looking around as a person like me who has been followed, the month before last, a Caucasian couple, while I was walking, minding my business, decided to follow me and see where I was going and look from around the corner to see what I was doing once I got to my place. And I'm like, it's like little things like this, the rising aggressions of xenophobia and quote unquote nationalism. And it's like, if we're not paying attention to what has happened throughout the ages, if we stick our head in the sand and if we don't really look, before you know it, we are full blown into a dystopia. It's like, no, we cannot pretend as if these things are not happening. So for me, yes, it's hard, and you know what? The more we come into contact with it, yes, the more we are desensitized. But what is the alternative? To completely, it's like so this is what's happening, right? And it started becoming too much. Like, you would see a black person shot down, and it would just cause all of this trauma inside, all of these feelings, these traumatic feelings that need to be worked through. And then you'd scroll the next day or the next week, and there'd be another person unarmed shot down. And so it's like, the people who are doing bad things, quote unquote bad things, depend on your complacency. They depend on your silence. They depend on your turning a blind eye to it, because then they're able to evoke their mania on the rest of society. And it's like let's say for example, there was a person who is on a rampage in your family molesting children, right? One child comes up, oh, I was molested, and another child comes up, oh, I was molested, right? It may be difficult to look at it, but if we don't, Uncle Charlie going around from house to house is able to operate unscathed, unstopped, because we're like, oh, this is just too much. Well, how much is it for the people who are living in that each and every day? So it's like, yeah, it's difficult, and I posed this question the other day, wanting to find out, what is it that people who consider themselves white, what do they have against becoming a minority? Because the way that the world is shifting, listen, they are having a lot of children in China and India and Africa. China has 1 billion people in it alone. There's 7 billion people in the world. So we're saying that in one nation, in China, is 1/7 of the population. So people of color are springing and sprouting up everywhere. And yes, people who consider themselves white are going to find themselves, as a matter of fact, you know what? I need to do the numbers on this, because I don't even believe that. I believe that people of color are the majority in the entire world. So white people are already a minority. And so here in this country, the response that they're having to being a minority is lashing out, the xenophobia, all being led from the top in this country, lashing out, the xenophobia, the harassment of people. And so, like a young lady on the broadcast was saying, oh, this is why I don't watch the news. You know, these things are being reported on. And if you don't pay attention to it, then this person's pain and victimization goes unfettered. And so, yeah, so my question is, so hi, Everett, hi, VS, hey, Eric. So my question is, so one of the questions is, one, what do we do? Do we pretend like it's not happening, especially when you know it's painful to see it happening? Two, what do we do once we do see it happening? How do we change this? And three, you know what? The only thing that I can think of, is really altering it on an individual level. Really, each person just reaching out to another person and just really creating community. I really don't know what else to say because it is happening, and I fear for what's going to happen to this country, the United States, because we see the push-pull right now, and we are in 2018. There was a report that came out that said that by the year 2050, that Caucasians would no longer be a majority of this country. As of 2 years ago when I looked, the race which is considered white in this country made up 67% of the population. And then black people made up 13%, so 67 and 13 is what, 80? And then there were Latinos, and then Asian. And then I guess, you know what, I need to look up the numbers. I'm going to look it up and I'm going to come back. And then as that 67% continues to constrict, my fear is for how these people will respond and react. You know, I was reading this article yesterday that was talking about why are Caucasians afraid of becoming a minority. And it's a fear of not being able to have the previous privilege that they've had, the previous advantages. And you know what, it's like, what can we do about that? Because if one group of the population wants the largest piece of pie and they want to stop other people from having pie, what are those other people who don't have pie supposed to do? Are they just supposed to continue to sit there and be like, well, I don't have pie? You know, it's like part of what was troubling me, it's like, okay, so this young lady who said don't pay attention to the news cycle, part of what was troubling me is rescinding race as a factor for diversity on college campuses. That there's I have to look and see if it's a bill trying to be passed into law or a federal mandate or whatever, that colleges and universities cannot look at race as a factor of diversity. So then what would make a college campus more diverse if not for race? So okay, what are the factors what are human descriptors? There's gender, there's race, height. What are we going to have, height diversity, so that we're like, okay, well, we make sure that there are enough tall and short people on campus? Half of the population is female, half of the population is male. So I don't know. So slowly but surely, undoing and unraveling things that would help make this country great, period. Not great again, because there hasn't been a period in time where the United States has not been violent. As a matter of fact, there's not been a decade in United States history where the United States has not been at war, violent war. So it's like when you look at the different wars that have existed, the United States has managed to infuse itself into a war every single decade that this nation has been in existence. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts right there. And on the one hand, yeah, no, you don't want to look at it. But then on the other hand, how do we not pay attention to the fact that these things are being unraveled and undone, especially when at some point this is going to affect us? We may not feel the effect right now. This whole thing that's happening at the border, the confiscation of people's children and the separation and holding them in cages and tent cities and little military bases and all this other stuff. it may not seem like something that affects us now, but okay, so right now it's Latinos trying to come in for asylum from their countries at the southern border. What will it be next? Who will it be next? You know, like there was that young lady who climbed up on the Statue of Liberty, and people were like, a Latino would never do that for you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? There's that saying that said, first they came for the socialists, and I did nothing because I was not socialist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did nothing because I was not Jewish. And then it went down the whole line. They came for the gays. I did nothing because I was not gay. And then by the time they came for your behind, there was nobody to stand up for you because you were silent while all that other stuff was happening. So on that note, I'm going to get out of here. I just wanted to speak my thoughts. I'll see you guys in the next video. I want to hear how you feel about it below. It's so troubling to me. I don't even know what to do with this country. I don't know what to do with what's being reflected back to me by what's happening in this nation. I don't know what to do with this. How do we continue on getting up, going to work, feeding our children, taking our children, going out to the movies? How do we continue doing that when there's so much turmoil happening right here in our own land, while there's so much turmoil that is happening at the hands of the United States in other lands? How do we just sit here and just be like, you know what, that's part of the reason why there's so many countries that hate the United States. I'll come back and make another video about that in particular. That's another reason. I remember when I was traveling outside of the country, and I saw the way things were in other lands, especially because of direct interference by the United States. And then to sit there and to watch people in the U.S. causing hoopla or just talking about their nails or their toes on Facebook or talking about this or little petty things. I remember even when I was in Puerto Rico. I was in Puerto Rico and there were people dying. There are people dying. People dying, losing their lives. And then I log onto Facebook, and people in America are so tone deaf. They don't really care about anything that is happening outside of their immediate area. People talking about the stupidest things. And I was like, can we not see that people are in crisis? Human beings. And then you say Black Lives Matter. People say all lives matter. But who are these all lives? Are these only the lives that of people that look like you or people who live near you? And it's like, I don't know. And so Tyrese is saying they're afraid of change and scared that we'll no longer exist as a race of people due to the mixing of race and culture. Listen, Caucasian genes are recessive. They're not going to make it. Caucasian people are not going to last as the people in power. They're not. Their genes are recessive. And white people were the ones who made the one-drop rule. And so when you make the one-drop rule, you automatically eliminate yourself. You eliminate yourself because for every child that you create with a person of color, there is a drop in that child, and you are wiped out. You created that rule, white people. You created that. And so, unfortunately, they created a way for them to be eliminated by the mixing of quote unquote races. Anyway, so on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. I just find this is so disturbing. It's so disturbing. But my final point was that is precisely why people in other countries feel so disconnected from Americans, because Americans disconnect. Americans disconnect. They're like, this is too much, too much. It's, like even the young lady who was on this broadcast, she's tuned out. It's too much. Even just talking about it is too much. What you're doing to yourself. Like she said, why do that to yourself? That's self-abuse. There are people out there who continue to be abused and victimized, and your silence speaks of volumes. It's self-abuse to listen to the stories of people who are being abused. That's so So it's like your desire for peace and platitudes is a lot greater than somebody else who is losing their life. Somebody who is truly being psychologically abused by policies enacted at our southern border. And we're going to sit up here talking about pizza pies, Chinese food, our toes and nails, and what man did what, and what woman did this, and this the foolishness of this celebrity. Oh, look at what she got on. Oh, she's fat. He ugly. She had plastic surgery. Look at this dress. Oh, you want this award? And it's like, so it's abuse to yourself to pay attention to people who are out there dying, hurting, who are being victimized and subjugated. That's abuse to you, to pay attention, to turn an eye to somebody who might need your help. That's abuse? Lord, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. I don't understand it. I don't understand how we can sit here like this is regular. I don't understand how we can sit here flipping our meats on the barbecue grill. I don't see how we can do it. How we can go out to the store and try to see which shoe fits the best and which is nice and this and the other. And our country is crumbling down around us. And we're sitting here worrying about the dumbest things. And then people like me who speak out, then all of a sudden, why are you doing that to yourself? Just go be happy. Just turn away. Don't look at that. It's abusive to yourself. Don't look at that. Really? But if your ass was on the other end of that abuse, you would want somebody to stop and say, please, look at what's happening to me. Look at what's happening. We're so selfish and so self-centered as people. We're so self-concerned and so self-absorbed that we feel that it takes away from us. Oh, that it's negative. Well, you don't want to focus on the negative. But if that was you, if it was your father who had been choked out by the NYPD, if it was your father who had been murked in front of his car on the ground, if that was your mother who ended up hung inside of a jail cell, you would want somebody to pay attention, but then your ass won't take the time to pay attention to see what's happening to other people. And Monica's saying, hello, what's going on? Tyrese is saying America turned a blind eye for so long that she really doesn't know what's real anymore. No, absolutely. This is it. And Monica's asking what's going on. Monica, I'm disgusted by what's going on in this country. I'm disgusted by what's going on in the world, and I'm disgusted by the fact that people are so addicted to escapism that they would turn a blind eye to human suffering. I never want to hear somebody say all lives matter ever again, because all lives don't matter. Do the lives at the border matter? Do the lives in Syria matter? When was the last time we heard anything about Syria? Do any of these lives matter? Do the lives matter of the policies that we create where we are dropping bombs on children in other countries? Do their lives matter? So listen, on that note, I'm really getting out of here because I don't know what more to say. I don't know what more to say. It just disheartens me because I know that if it was you or you or you or you or you or some of your family, you, if something happened to your child, you would want people to know, you would want people to hear. But when it happens to somebody else, we're like, oh, well, he shouldn't have been doing this. They shouldn't have gone to the pool. They shouldn't have this. They shouldn't have that. They shouldn't be driving. Oh, this is trying to figure out a way that it's their fault somehow. I'm just disgusted. I'm disgusted. And on that note, I'm out. I just had to get this off of my chest. I'll see you guys in the next video.